Dude, the worst thing is buying a game and realizing it's not everything you thought it would be. But don't worry, I'm here to help you with that. I've picked out 15 essential games that, if you own a PS5 or are planning to buy one, you need to have in your library. I've beaten all of them, spent a lot of time and money, and they're the perfect games for you to start 2026 in the best possible way. Death Stranding 2 on the beach is Hideo Kojima at his most unhinged perfection. The sensation of the world building here is just on another planet. We're moving beyond just delivering packages. The story goes deep into the mystery of the beach and what it means for humanity's future. The visuals? Man, they look so real, it's scary. Every rock, every flood, every strand of hair on Sam or Fragile's head. It's a technical showcase for what the PS5 can actually do. The gameplay keeps that meditative flow, but adds so much more variety in how you interact with the terrain. I didn't expect this moment, but I found myself getting genuinely emotional over a floating robot companion. The impacto emocional hits you when you realize that even in a world that's physically falling apart, the human connection is what keeps everything standing. Is it weird? Yes. Will you spend 20 minutes just watching a baby in a jar? Probably, but this is where the game changed for me, when I realized that no one else in the industry is taking risks like this. It's an essential experience because it's not just a game, it's a mood, a memoria that stays with you long after the credits roll. If you want something that feels truly next gen in its ambition, this is it. 2. Stellar Blade. If you miss the days when action games were just pure, unfiltered fun with a killer soundtrack, you need Stellar Blade in your life. Playing as Eve is a total blast. The sensation of the combat is super tight. It's that perfect mix of Sekiro-style parrying and Bayonetta-style stylish action. Every time you land a perfect parry and follow up with a beta skill, the haptic feedback on the DualSense makes you feel like a total badass. The world design of Sion and the Wastelands has this beautiful, melancholic, end-of-the-world vibe. The impacto emocional actually snuck up on me. I thought I was just there for the flashy fights, but the mystery behind the Naitibas and the human survivors is surprisingly deep. That's when I realized something was different, when I stopped rushing to the next boss and just spent 30 minutes exploring a ruined city because the music was so damn good. One thing I didn't love? Some of the platforming sections can feel a bit finicky compared to the combat, which is 10 on 10. But the memory of those massive boss fights? Dude, they are epic. It's a polished, gorgeous, and incredibly satisfying journey. It's one of those games where you feel every dollar you spent was worth it because the production value is just dripping from the screen. Number 3. Resident Evil 4 Remake. I know, it's a remake of a game from 20 years ago, but Resident Evil 4 Remake on PS5 is a masterpiece that stands on its own. The sensation of dread in that Spanish village is so much thicker now. Leon S. Kennedy is cooler than ever, and the way he moves and reacts to the environment feels so crunchy and grounded. The combat is a tactical dance. Parrying a chainsaw with a combat knife is still the peak of gaming for me. The impacto emocional actually hits harder here because the relationship between Leon and Ashley is way more believable. She feels like a partner, not just a health bar you have to protect. I didn't expect this moment, but the sequence in the castle with Luis Serra actually made me feel a massive connection to the characters. The memoria of the original is there, but this remake reclaims that title for a whole new generation. The pacing is flawless. It's a 15-hour roller coaster that never lets up. My only gripe is that the Mercenaries mode can be a massive time sink because it's so addictive. If you want to see how to properly respect a legend while making it feel brand new, this is the one. It's an essential part of any PS5 library, period. Number 4, Days Gone Remastered.
This was a surprise, right? But man, Days Gone Remastered finally gives Deacon St. John the technical love he deserves. If you played it back in the day, you know the atmosphere was always there. But now, seeing those massive hordes in 4K with a locked 60 FPS, the sensation is terrifying. The high desert of Oregon feels so much more alive, and the lighting during the rainstorms is peak immersion. The gameplay is all about that bike. Your motorcycle is your best friend, and the memoria of running out of fuel while a horde is chasing you is the definition of gaming stress. But the impacto emocional comes from Deacon's search for his wife, Sarah. It's a slow burn story about a broken man finding a reason to keep going. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized it wasn't just another zombie game, but a story about loyalty and survival against all odds. The first few hours can still feel a bit slow as you build up your skills, but once you start taking down those 500 freaker hordes, there's no feeling like it. It's a gritty, soulful, and massive open world. That's when I realized something was different. This game has a lot more heart than people gave it credit for. Now that it's polished to a mirror finish, it's a must-play for 2026.
Number 5. Dead Space Remake. Man, if you want to test the quality of your headphones and the resilience of your heart, Dead Space Remake is mandatory. The feeling of walking through the metallic corridors of the USG Ishimura is one of absolute isolation. The sound of metal creaking and something crawling through the ventilation ducts creates a level of tension I've rarely felt in other games. You control S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and the fact that he now has a voice and reacts to panic makes the emotional impact feel far more real. The strategic dismemberment gameplay remains brilliant, but now everything feels heavier, more tactile. I didn't expect this moment, but there was a zero-gravity sequence where I simply stopped to admire the vastness of space outside, right before a jump scare nearly made me leap out of my chair. The memory that stays with you isn't just the scares, but how the dynamic lighting makes every shadow feel like a threat. The game is short enough to stay intense and long enough to leave you exhausted. The only thing that might bother players who aren't fans of horror is that the oppressive atmosphere never lets up for even a second. But if you're looking for technical immersion and an atmosphere that completely consumes you, it's a 10 out of 10. That's when I realized something was different. Space horror has never been so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Six. Hollow Knight Silksong. The myth, the legend, the game everyone waited an eternity for, and that is finally here on PS5. Hollow Knight Silksong is a design spectacle. The feeling of controlling Hornet is completely different from the original Knight. She's taller, faster, and far more acrobatic. The world of Farloom is vibrant, full of colors that contrast with the melancholy of Hallownest, yet it still keeps that sense of mystery that makes you want to explore every inch of the map. The gameplay is smooth as silk, pun fully intended. The tool system and silk-based healing abilities completely change the rhythm of combat. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized that the verticality of the environments demanded reflexes I didn't even know I had. The emotional impact comes from those quiet discoveries, finding a new secret area and being hypnotized by Christopher Larkin's epic soundtrack. It's a challenging game, I won't lie. Some bosses will make you want to bite your DualSense controller, but the memory of finally overcoming a challenge after dozens of attempts is one of the best feelings gaming can offer. It's an elite Metroidvania that proves the wait was worth it. That's when I realized something was different. Team Cherry didn't just create a sequel, they set a new standard for the genre. Seven. Forza Horizon 5. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Forza? Yep, 2026 is here, and if you love speed, you need to play this as soon as possible. Forza Horizon 5 delivers the purest sense of freedom you can have on four wheels. The Mexico depicted here is a work of art. You can feel the change in terrain from the scorching sand of the beaches to the wet asphalt of the jungles, and the PS5's haptic feedback during braking and gear shifts is surprisingly good. The gameplay is pure sandbox. You do whatever you want. Feel like cruising in a classic car while listening to the radio? You can. Want to launch off a volcano at 300 kilometers an hour? That too. My strongest memory is a convoy with friends crossing a massive sandstorm. Visibility was 0, but the adrenaline was through the roof. I didn't expect this moment, but the way the game celebrates car culture without being boring or overly technical won me over instantly. The only issue is that the map is so packed with things to do that you might feel a bit lost at first, but the emotional impact of simply living the Horizon Festival is unbeatable. It's the perfect game to unwind after a stressful day. That's when I realized something was different. It's not about being first, it's about the journey and the pure joy of driving. 8. Wuchang Fallen Feathers. If you're into the Souls-like vibe and dark action, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is going to be your new obsession. Set at the end of the Ming Dynasty, the game feels like a twisted, macabre take on Chinese folklore. The art direction is phenomenal, blending historical reality with a supernatural decay that's visually striking. The protagonist has a unique agility, and the combat is visceral, focused on parries and counterattacks that demand a high level of precision. The gameplay challenges you constantly, but it never feels unfair. The magic system and the corruption elements that affect the character add a really interesting strategic layer. This is where the game changed for me, when I faced one of the early bosses and realized the game didn't just want me to attack, but to understand the rhythm of the fight. The memory of each environment, from ruined temples to misty forests, is breathtaking. The game has a high difficulty curve, so be prepared to die a few times, but the emotional impact of exploring this hostile world and uncovering the secrets behind the curse that plagues the land is incredibly rewarding. That's when I realized something was different. The Chinese developer brought a distinct identity that avoids the obvious. It's a dense, challenging, and incredibly beautiful experience that you need to have on your PS5. 9. Monster Hunter Wilds. If you've ever wanted to feel like a tiny part of a massive, living ecosystem, Monster Hunter Wilds is the game that finally nails that sensation. The Forbidden Lands are brutal. One minute you're tracking a beast through a lush valley, and the next a massive sandstorm rolls in, changing the entire map and the behavior of the monsters. The transition between exploring and fighting is seamless now. You don't even have to head back to base to swap weapons because your mount, the Sacred, carries a spare for you. The gameplay is as deep as it's ever been, but it feels more alive. I have a vivid memory of being chased by a pack of monsters into a narrow canyon only for a lightning storm to strike the rocks and trap them. It didn't feel like a scripted event. It felt like the world was helping me. The impact emotional comes from that bond you form with your hunting party and the sheer awe of seeing these creatures interact in the wild. It's a massive time sink, and the learning curve for some of the 14 weapon types can be steep, but this is where the game changed for me, when I realized I wasn't just killing bosses, I was learning to survive in a world that didn't care if I lived or died. It's an absolute essential for anyone who loves the thrill of the hunt. Number 10. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chornobyl. Stepping into the zone on PS5 is a sensation of pure, unfiltered dread. S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 doesn't care about your feelings. It's a brutal, bleak, and beautiful survival experience. The atmosphere is so thick you can practically smell the irradiated rain. You're managing your hunger, your radiation levels, and your ammo, all while trying to navigate anomalies that can tear you apart in seconds. On the PS5 Pro, the 60 FPS makes the gunplay feel incredibly sharp.
The gameplay is a mix of FPS and immersive sim. It rewards you for being cautious and punishes you for being reckless. I didn't expect this moment, but I once spent 10 minutes hiding in a bush, heart pounding, just waiting for a mutant pack to pass by because I only had 3 bullets left. The impacto emocional hits you through the stories of the other stalkers you meet. Everyone is just trying to find a reason to stay alive in a place that wants them dead. The AI is smart. They will flank you and pull back if they're losing. It's a tough game, and you will die. A lot. But the memoria of finding a rare artifact in the middle of a blowout storm is a high that few other games can provide. That's when I realized something was different. This isn't just a shooter. It's a test of your will to survive. 11. Hell is Us. This is the dark horse of the list. Hell is Us is a surreal, semi-open-world action-adventure that feels like a blend of God of War and a Souls-like, but with a very weird philosophical twist. The sensation of exploring the country of Hadia, which is torn apart by civil war and haunted by faceless hollow creatures, is deeply unsettling. What makes it essential is that the game refuses to hold your hand. No map markers, no quest compass. You have to actually listen to NPCs and look at landmarks to find your way. The gameplay is focused on limbic weapons, swords and axes that are the only things capable of hurting the supernatural threats. The combat is weighty and requires serious timing. This is where the game changed for me, when I stopped looking for a UI prompt and started actually paying attention to the environment to solve a puzzle. The impacto emocional of seeing the human cost of the war through the eyes of the protagonist, Remy, is heavy and mature. It can be frustrating if you're used to games that tell you exactly what to do, but the memoria of finally uncovering a secret dungeon without any help is so rewarding. It's a thinking man's action game. That's when I realized something was different. It's a game that respects your intelligence and your curiosity.
12. Demon Souls. Even in 2026, Demon Souls remains the gold standard for how a remake should look and feel. The sensation of walking into the Boletarian Palace for the first time is still jaw-dropping. The 3D audio on the PS5 makes every clink of armor and every distant dragon roar feel like it's right behind you. It's the game that started this Souls craze, and this version makes it feel like it was built specifically for the hardware we have now. The gameplay is famously punishing, but fair. It's all about patience and learning from your mistakes. I didn't expect this moment, but after hours of struggling, finally taking down a boss that seemed impossible gave me a rush of adrenaline I hadn't felt in years. The impacto emocional comes from the oppressive beauty of the world. It's a lonely, dying kingdom, and you're the only one left to try and save it. It doesn't have the quality of life features of Elden Ring, so be prepared for some long runs back to the boss after you die. But the memory of the atmosphere, from the swampy depths of the Valley of Defilement to the heights of Latria, is unmatched. That's when I realized something was different. This isn't just a hard game, it's a masterpiece of mood and tension that every PS5 owner needs to experience at least once.
13. Ghost of Yōtei. When Sucker Punch revealed we were heading to the lands around Mount Yōtei, I think we all lost our minds a little. The sensation of the wind blowing through the long, snowy grass in this new region is on a completely different level. You play as Atsu, and while she's still a deadly warrior, the vibe is different from the first game. It feels more like a frontier story, wild and untamed. The lighting on the PS5 Pro is just... it's a joke how good it looks. The gameplay keeps that razor-sharp katana combat, but adds new tools and weapons that fit this specific era perfectly. I didn't expect this moment, but the first time I engaged in a duel with the massive looming silhouette of Mount Yōtei in the background, I actually stopped breathing for a second. The impacto emocional hits when you realize Atsu's journey is just as personal and heavy as Jin's was. The memoria of the guiding wind leads you through landscapes that look like living paintings. It's a more rugged experience than Tsushima, and the world feels a bit more dangerous and unpredictable. That's when I realized something was different. Sucker Punch didn't just give us a sequel, they gave us a brand new atmosphere to get lost in. It is, without a doubt, the most aesthetic game you can own in 2026.
14. Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Even with new releases coming out, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 remains an absolute essential because it's just the most fun you can have with a controller. The sensation of web swinging and using the web wings to glide through the concrete canyons of New York is pure gaming bliss. Switching between Peter and Miles instantly with 0 loading screens still feels like magic even years after launch. It's the ultimate power trip game. The gameplay is fast, fluid, and hits like a truck, especially when you start using the symbiote abilities. This is where the game changed for me, during the chase sequence with Lizard, where the scale of the destruction just keeps escalating and you realize that PS5 is working overtime to keep up with the action. The impacto emocional of Peter's struggle with the black suit and Miles trying to find his own identity as a hero gives the story a lot of weight. My only gripe? I wish some of the side crimes were a bit more varied, but when the main story is this cinematic, it's hard to complain. The memory of that final showdown is a highlight of the generation. That's when I realized something was different. This isn't just a superhero game, it's a benchmark for how to do high-octane action right. It's a 10 out of 10 must-have. 15. Black Myth: Wukong. We're closing the list with the game that proved that the old legends still have some serious competition. Black Myth: Wukong is a visual and mechanical powerhouse. The sensation of the combat is fast, vertical, and incredibly stylish. You play as the Destined One, and the variety of transformations, turning into a flaming monster or a tiny cicada, makes every encounter feel fresh. The boss designs are some of the most creative and intimidating I've seen in a decade. The gameplay is a boss rush at its heart, but the pacing is so tight that you never feel burnt out. I didn't expect this moment, but the first time I used the Immobilize spell to stop a massive dragon mid-flight, I felt like a god. The impacto emocional comes from the deep poetic lore of Journey to the West that's woven into every corner of the world. The memory of some of these vistas, temples hidden in the clouds or snowy mountain peaks, is etched into my brain. It's a tough game, and the invisible walls can be a bit annoying when you want to explore, but the sheer quality of the animation and the boss fights makes it an essential. That's when I realized something was different. It's a game with a massive personality and even bigger ambitions. It's the perfect way to round out your 2026 library.
And that's the list, folks. 15 essential PS5 games to make sure your 2026 is off to a legendary start. Whether you're delivery walking through a sci-fi wasteland or parrying katanas in the shadow of a volcano, these are the titles that make the console worth every penny. But hey, that's just my journey. Which of these 15 games are you diving into first? Or is there a hidden gem I missed that everyone needs to know about? Drop a comment below and let's talk games. I read every single one of them.